Everybody, coming at you for another Indigenous Minded YouTube Journal video, number 56. Last week was, I think ended off with the end of intern year, going into my first block as an R2. Interesting, like in school, usually there's like a break in between, but just right into it, this is what residency training is. So I don't know if my last video was before or after my first shift at Children's ED, and I was like a day shift, and then I was on nights like for the next like 4 nights up until midway last week. And it's interesting to see what's coming through Children's, being that I'm working with the pediatric population. Kind of as expected, it's a summer, so there's kind of like different times of the year you expect different things to come through typically. So a lot of lacerations on the head. Did like a hair tie, which is interesting. We had one on the lip. You have to be very careful like how you place that back together. So we actually brought in a plastic surgeon, which was great to kind of learn from them. You end up having to do like a ketamine sedation. And the surgeon actually is from Hawaii, so it was really cool to kind of connect with them. Found out there was a lot of like Hawaii connections at that hospital as well, like patients wise, but then like staff, people planning to go to Hawaii or been there, and it was just like really interesting. I was able to build rapport with a lot of people, kind of like talking about my experiences and who I am. So that was cool. But yeah, a lot of lacerations or seizures that come through. The thing about children is they have like pathways and like ways to kind of think through things, and what are the common things you'll end up seeing. A lot of that, had a lot of mental health things that come through. Recognize people from work, from like Swedish as well, because children is such a big system, a big hospital. Like a lot of things get sent there from other clinics, urgent cares, or other emergency departments, and they'll stabilize them and like come here or come to Children's. And you'll kind of see what their workup was. Seen some interesting things like Campylobacter, so with like bloody diarrhea with this baby, and how to treat that. And it was kind of interesting to see a lot of those things that I studied about and actually see them. And I guess it hasn't been as busy from what they're telling me. There's a lot of providers, and we all kind of had to like pick up patients as they come in, and working with different attendings, and it's been pretty good. I've been working with some great people. And then just with the whole pandemic situation, how they do it, they have like these cappers, which are like these helmets that come with like a plastic like mask that you have, like a personal one that you attach, and it attaches to like a battery pack. It's interesting because I haven't worked with those. I know like at where my home institution we have like a PAPR, but this is a capper, so it's a little different. You kind of wear those with everyone that has like strict like precautions versus like just like a mask and like gloves or gown for like droplet or any other type of like contact precautions. It was kind of interesting. So like it's a different kind of population. I mean, it's in the realm of family medicine. But it was like there's sometimes you get a little bit of older patients that are kind of getting close or like are aging out of that kind of brackets, because I see some pediatric providers see patients up until like their 20s, and if someone's showing up sick and at a hospital, you're going to take care of them. So I had someone that was like a little bit older, an adult, like in their early 20s, and had a history of like homelessness, polysubstance use, like drug use, and it reminded me a lot of my patients I typically see at my home institution, so I was like able to connect pretty quickly. And I could tell it was a little bit different than the typical patient that some of the providers there are used to seeing. So it was kind of like oh, this is kind of like my moment to show like what I know. So that was interesting. But yeah, I was mostly on nights, and I was like mostly the same shift. My last shift I had to come back a little bit earlier. They have like multiple different shifts at that at Children's that we kind of cover, and then. Yeah, that was led up to most of last week, and so it was mostly nights. Glad I had blackout curtains. I was able to just go home, sleep. Really appreciating having a new vehicle to be able to get around, because it's a pretty far way to go if I did what I did last time, which was when I was on wards, I used like the rail and then use the bus. But the way the system's running right now with the pandemic is a lot slower, and this point it's really great to have a vehicle to do that a lot quickly, like more quickly, and the shifts kind of change a little bit, so being able to just be able to go if I need to, it's great. and continuing to find parking, things like that. Always a thing to do. But yeah, transitioning soon, and starting to look closer at new places pretty soon now that this lease is almost up. Trying to budget now that I have a new car, and trying to understand how like my budgeting is going is important. But yeah, that kind of led up through the rest of the week. I was supposed to have clinic on Friday, but because it was the 4th of July and it was observed on the Friday, so it turned out I didn't have clinic on Friday. And I think the way the shifts are, they try to have like a longer weekend for everyone. So this ended up being my longer weekend off. And then I'll go back to my clinic this week, and I don't really go back into children's a little bit till later this week. And I think I have a few like swing shifts. Then I do another like smaller stretch of nights. This was like my longer stretch of like work. It was like 5 days, like call shifts back to back, which is a lot, but it's different. It's different working in the emergency department because things I think work a little bit quicker. Versus like if you're on medicine nights, you could, depending on your panel or your people you're taking care of, you could be really busy. It could be like in codes or rapid responses, or it could be really slow, and you could get some rest. Emergency department, things are going the whole time, and for the most part, it would move pretty quick. I mean, I'd say when you got to about 3-4 a.m., it was a little bit slower when you have a lot of providers and everyone's like has one or two, and then it kind of felt like it was slowed down. But it could be the time of year too. It could be the pandemic versus like how many people are coming in. And then it was interesting too. Like I had some patients that are like well known to a lot of the services there, because like the way children's has, they have different services and like what covers different specialties. Like I got to handle or be a part of like the care of like a patient with like leukemia, and like kind of they know the process. This patient is really well known to their service, so like contacting the consult. It was an interesting system. It was a pretty cool system that they have at Children's. Is like you work with like kind of the main front area, and they help you get consults, to help get information. You can just like go to them, or like go-tos, especially you're on the go and you have like a phone. It actually works pretty good. So yeah, or working with other specialists that come in and just know they're coming in, and they'll kind of fill you in, or like this is what we think we should do, and you kind of be a part of that workup. And a lot of like emergency department is kind of like urgent care. You just people coming in, you try to get info you can if there is, if they're well known. If not, you try to ask and try to get outside information, and if not, you just go with what you got. And yeah, so that's kind of some of the different things. But like lacerations, hair sutures, saw that interesting Campylobacter case, laceration work with like a plastic surgeon, and some of the other things are interesting too. I think those are kind of the big things. Mental health, trying to figure out if someone is like emergently needing like meeting inpatient criteria, like needing care right now, or are they safe to be able to leave and have a safe plan on disposition. So kind of working those things out, working with the different specialists and people that you have available, social work, social work, like CPS, some of the police investigations that come through, like child abuse, things like that come through as well. You have to have a process, and you talk to like SCAN, you talk to different, and it's interesting, you try to have the right kind of ways of working through things, and I feel like it's different, maybe it's this institution, but different population is a different kind of feeling, and I think maybe like process, which is kind of expected. I think working with different populations in general, think of it that way, but we really care about our children in general as people, and that makes sense, and it's kind of interesting to kind of see that, especially from someone that's coming from like as a visitor outside institution, to kind of view that and see how that is versus come from a hospital that kind of serves everyone, but probably definitely not as much pediatric population as like children's hospital as expected. So it's kind of interesting to see that. So I'm using this time to kind of spend with family. It was 4th of July, and it's interesting to think about that with the movement, with myself as an Indigenous person, what that means to me, how to celebrate that. And just for me, it means just having that time with family as much as I can. Have family multiple places and trying to be there for them. There's a lot of birthdays we have early this month. And yeah, just trying to be there for people and be there for everyone. But yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on. A lot of things I'm trying to do this week. I mean, I have some shifts again, like I'm talking about coming up. Going to try to get some things ready for like my elective, and trying to do some things I need to get done. Like I got to get some like to-dos done. Make sure we're staying on top of. It's a new year, so like licensing, things like that, and I need to get renewed. Yeah, and just continue to try to find that balance. Starting to share more with family, friends, and look for the future with like me and my fiance and I, like planning and just trying to find that more balance, trying to find health, wellness in all aspects, mental, physical, spiritual. Been able to do more of my manipulation, more of my OMM, being able to bring that up, which is I'm really thankful for, and spending time with family in other areas. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Just kind of understanding what my new role is now as a senior. So R2 in residency, but staying thankful, keeping mission minded, keeping indigenous minded, right? Aloha.